So today's session is about how to make a secure WordPress plugin. So like my friend introduced how to make a plugin from idea to marketplace. Now I'll share how you can make sure that your plugin is secure. So this is something about myself. I've been developing plugins since 11 years. I've been working with Softaculous since 15 years, and I've been making plugins as a hobby at WP Inspired. The plugins that I've developed at Softaculous and WP Inspired are being used by millions of users. And at WordCamp, I'm here to share my knowledge and lessons and insights that I've developed over the years. So let's start with CSRF protection. So what is CSRF? Actually, what happens is if you have created a form in your plugin and you do not have any CSRF protection, so someone can create a malicious link or a malicious form on their website and have the admin click some button, which will then make an AJAX call or a JavaScript query, which will make a call to your plugin form, and without the admin knowing it, that form will be executed. So there are two steps in CSRF protection. First is to render. So in your form, you have to use the WP nonce field plugin function, which will echo a hidden input in your form. And the other part is validation. So when the form is submitted, you can use the check admin referrer function in WordPress, which will make sure that the nonce that you have created in your input is validated. So if that is not validated, it will trigger an error. So the parameter here in both the functions should be the same. If you use different parameter in both the functions, it will not authenticate properly. So whenever you are creating two forms, let's say in the admin panel and an end user panel, you will use different parameter for both, because you should not use the same nonce on the WordPress side, admin side and the end user side. So the now next step is never trust the user input. So if you are trusting the user input, you are making a bad choice. So there are two parts in user input. First, you should sanitize the input. So there are multiple functions in WordPress to sanitize the input that you receive from the user. So you have sanitize text fields, sanitize email, sanitize URL, sanitize user, and there are many more. Depending on what input you are taking from the user, you can use an appropriate function from WordPress. And then we have validate function. So in validation, you should make sure that the input that you have received is exactly the same what you expected. So let's say if you expected, you have a drop down where you have two options, let's say John and Doe, and if the user submitted some third option, then you should trigger an error, and you can use the in-error function to validate that. Then you have equal to validation. So if you are expecting the input should be exactly 1, you should use an double equal to or triple equal to make sure that the input is exactly the same what you expected. So the difference between double equal to and triple equal to is that it what do I say? Yeah, force. So it is a force validation. Let's say if you expected a string 1 and you expected an integer 1, if you use double equal to, it will share that both of them are equal, and if you use triple equal to, the string 1 will not be the same as an integer 1. And then we have typecasting, where you can typecast the input. If the user input if you expected a integer and user inputted a string, you can typecast it into integer, and then if it is not the same, you can trigger an error. Then we have isEmail function in WordPress, which validates that the input that the user has given is a valid email or not. Similarly, there are many functions in WordPress as well as in PHP which you can use to validate the input. And the next one is XSS protection. So what is XSS? So if in the previous step we made sure that we validate the input, in case if you fail to validate, you might save some malicious input from the user into the database, and if an admin visits the page with the malicious input and you are printing it on the form, then it could trigger some JavaScript or any malicious print on the form, which will lead to unintentional disclosure of some sensitive data like cookies or something. So there are multiple functions to make sure that the output that you're printing on the form is escaped. We have escape HTML, escape JS, we have escape URL, escape attribute, WP KSES, and many other functions by WordPress which you can use to escape the output before printing it on the form. Then we have the option to check privileges before you are performing any action. So let's say if you have a form where you are trying to edit a post, so you need to make sure that the current user who is logged in, he should have privileges to edit the post. Otherwise, you should trigger an error. So there is a function in WordPress, current user can, which has multiple parameters which you can use, like edit post, activate plugins, manage options, moderate comments, delete users, and many more. So based on that, you can make sure that the action that the user is performing, the user should have privileges to perform that action. Okay, so now we have evaluated the security practices, but in case there are some vulnerabilities that are in your plugin and someone reports it, what should be the course of action? So first read the report carefully, then try to replicate the vulnerability in your test environment, then you write the code to fix it, then you need to make sure that the fix works. So just making a fix and sending it for approval is not a good thing. You need to replicate the vulnerability and fix it as well. And then you should also release a new version. Never commit the update in an existing version, because the existing users will not get your patch. So always release a new version. And then the person who reported you the vulnerability, you need to notify them that I have fixed the vulnerability, and then they can confirm with you that okay, the vulnerability is fixed now. So WordPress team has introduced a new plugin called plugin check. What it does is it evaluates your existing code in the plugin, and then it suggests you any improvements that you need to do into your plugin, or if there is any vulnerability present in the plugin, it will suggest you to make the changes. And if you use this plugin, it is better because before submitting to approval, the WordPress team is going to do the same thing for you. If you do it before submitting, it will save you time. So there is the download link of this plugin. In case if you would like to scan it, you can use this plugin. It's completely free, developed by WordPress team. Okay, so if you ask, can I use AI to write plugins? So yes, you can use AI, but don't blindly copy and paste the code that you get from AI, because it could be, there could be a vulnerability, there could be some issues in the code. You need to understand each and every line of the code. You need to make sure that you understand what you are implementing it in your plugin. Then you need to check if you are using the correct filter. So like WordPress has filters and hooks for everything. There are multiple hooks and filters which can achieve the same desired output. But some could be, let's say if a hook is triggered 5 times and a hook is triggered once, both the hooks can be used for your plugin. So you need to use the one which is triggered less time, so that so it does not create a burden on the website. And then you should always check all the vulnerabilities that we decided. The vulnerabilities that we discussed is not an exhaustive list. There might be other vulnerabilities, but you can definitely, these are the most common ones that we come across, so you can do that. So thank you guys. There is a small WordPress community that we are running, where we help plugin developers to solve the problems that they're facing while writing plugins. You can scan and join the WordPress community. It's completely free. Thank you guys.